Okay, we're here for a special shiur for Succos this year, and hopefully we'll get it posted and we'll get it up online sometime tonight. So you'll have a couple of hours before Succos just to see a new idea how to come into the Yontif of Succos, something to take out of the Yontif of Succos also. The pasuk says, discussing the inyan of the Arba Minim, "V'lekachtem lochem b'yom harishon pre-Eitz Adar." Take an esrog. The pasuk talks about the Dal Minim. The end of the pasuk says, "U'smachtem lifnei Hashem Elokeichem." You take the Arba Minim, and the end says, "U'smachtem lifnei Hashem Elokeichem." So Lamaisa, it seems from the pasuk that the entire tachlis, the entire reason of the Daled Minim, is for this reason of to be b'simcha, because the whole pasuk says that you should take the Daled Minim, and then U'smachtem lifnei Hashem Elokeichem, sort of that they're very attached to each other. That one has a lot to do with the other. You take the Daled Minim and you be b'simcha. So first of all, the question is why? What is the connection between simcha and the Daled Minim that it's mentioned in the pasuk as one? In addition, we could ask another question here. We know that dafka by the mitzvah of Simchas Beis HaShe'eva, which we also have on Sukkos, it says that the level of simcha, by the Simchas Beis HaShe'eva, the level of kedusha, the level of simcha, brought what? It brought Ruach HaKodesh. It brought Ruach HaKodesh on that people who came to the Simchas Beis HaShe'eva, they were zeicha, they were able to get to this level of Ruach HaKodesh. Again, we see that simcha being connected to the Ruach HaKodesh. And what is it? Why is it necessarily by this mitzvah of Simchas Beis HaShe'eva that it brings Ruach HaKodesh? And also, once we're asking these questions, we can ask, what's the connection, because we see that there must be a connection now between the Yontif, the mitzvahs that we have on this Yontif. First of all, the mitzvah of Sukkah. Second of all, the mitzvah of Daled Minim. And also the mitzvah of Simchas Beis HaShe'eva, which is the mitzvah of Nislach HaMayim. So, in order to understand this whole inyan of Simcha, let's take a look at what Simcha is. And brought down in Siva Shalom different ideas about Simcha. But what is Simcha? We discussed it from the pasuk at the Daled Minim. We discussed it Simchas Beis HaShe'eva. We discussed the mitzvah of Zman Simchasenu. The entire Yontif of Sukkos is called Zman Simchasenu. All this Simcha surrounds us. What is Simcha? So be'emes, as backwards as it sounds, it's brought down in many svarim, many different svarim, that the way to reach simcha, the way to reach happiness in your life, is basically the absence of the pursuits of hana in olam hazeh. And really, it's contrary. This is opposite to the prevalent conventional wisdom of today. The conventional wisdom of today is the more olam hazeh you chase, and we're constantly chasing things in olam hazeh, we think that that's going to bring us to happiness. That's going to bring us to, quote, happiness, to bring us to simcha. Be'emes, everybody knows the famous Medrash in Kehelis Rabbah. The Medrash says, "Ein adam yotzei mizeh ha'olam." A person does not leave this world, b'chatzit havosav biyadai. In other words, it's a never-ending chase. A person's never satisfied. And if we're honest with ourselves, we know that that's the way it is. It's true. No matter what you have, just when you get that new car, or you get that big expensive item, you want the next one. You need the next one because your neighbor got this one, and it's a never-ending chase. No matter what you have, and we discussed this a couple of weeks ago by Yesh Mana writes of Masayim, but it's a never-ending chase. So the Siva Shalom brings a way to understand this. He brings a little story, and he says a story, and for some reason most of the stories have a king in them, and this one has a melech, this one has a king in it also. And this story is about a king who, unfortunately, he falls ill. The king gets sick, and he's told that the only remedy for his sickness is that somewhere in his vast kingdom, he has to find somebody who is totally b'simcha. He has to find a person that is absolutely happy, and when he finds that person, he has to take the coat of that person, is the coat that this person wears, and he has to get the coat from that person and don the coat. That's what the Chachamim in that generation, that's what the Chachamim in this kingdom told the king he has to do. So the king looks far and wide, he sends his messengers, he sends everybody, they look far and wide. Finally, guess what? They find a person, one person in a distant province in the kingdom who is totally besimcha. He's an absolutely, positively happy, besimcha-dika person. So they find the person, and but there was only one problem. When they found the person, guess what? He didn't have a coat. Because they asked the person, where's your coat? He said, no, if I had a coat, I'd have to be worried about my coat. I wouldn't be besimcha. And that's an unbelievable lesson to us. You know, the person thinks, like we said before, you get that new car, but we don't even realize today that when we get that expensive toy, when we get something, that big taiva and tainig in olam hazeh, when we get it, what happens? We're worried sick about it. You don't want anyone to touch it, steal it, and as a matter of fact, you don't even want anyone to have the same thing as you do. Even if yours stays in perfect condition, but if your neighbor gets the same thing, it's not worth the whole thing. So you're not the simcha. So that's a lesson that the lesson of the person in the story, that he was totally besimcha because he had nothing. And if you think about it, who's happy today, right? Look around. If you look around, let's just leave it at that. Look around and see people that really think that they have a lot of things, and people that are chasing this vacation and that house and this thing and that thing. Look around and see if they're really happy. See if those are the happy people in the world. And you know, people might joke about it, but they say that sometimes the people on the streets that have nothing, the people, they're the happiest people in the world. Why? Because really, they don't have anything to worry about. So what do we do on Succos? On Succos, which we call Zman Simchasenu, on Succos we leave our homes. And we leave all the luxuries of our homes. And we go outside to where we do not have any luxuries. Yes, you can have a nice sukkah, but it's not your living room. Basically, no matter what you do. And we leave all the comforts of olam hazeh, and we go outside to what? We go outside to spend time with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's Zman Simchasenu. We do it right after the Yom Narayim. Right after the Yom Narayim, where we still have that feeling and this longing to be close to Hashem. We leave our olam hazeh, sviva of our house, and we go outside, and what do we call it? Just like the person in our story, we call that Zman Simchasenu. When we leave the tightest olam hazeh, when we leave the luxuries, then we're happy. Then we're happy. And it calls. And now, when it comes to Succos, what is it? Succos is different than Yom Kippur. We're right after Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, we come close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with Midas Hayira. We're afraid. Yom Kippur is an unbelievable Midas Hayira. Aura about Yom Kippur. But when it comes to Succos, it comes a few days later. Succos is totally Midas Ahava. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us close. And what separates us from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as we've said many times, it's material things. Our material desires is what separates us from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the avodah of Succos, what's the avodah of Succos? The avodah of Succos is to teach ourselves and tell ourselves over and over that stop the rat race for a little while. Separate ourselves. Stop chasing the taivas and the gashmias of olam hazeh. When we do that, the Torah calls it Zman Simchasenu. The Kabina Rav has a beautiful word, and he says that people want to know, is this world, olam hazeh, is it a nice world or is it an ugly world? Is it a good world or is it a bad world? Dr. Kabina Rav, he says that olam hazeh, this world, it's a beautiful world. But it's a beautiful world only for the people who do not indulge in the world. It's absolutely beautiful. And you can get such ishmak and such simcha out of this world. But if you indulge in olam hazeh, then it's not a good world. So when we take the Daled Minim, what was our question at the beginning? Our question was, the pasuk starts off with Daled Minim and ends usmachtem. Then you're going to be happy. When we take the Daled Minim, we know it's brought down that the Daled Minim, each one of the Daled Minim, represents a different part of a person's body. The lulav is the shedra, the esrog is a heart. There's different parts of a person's body. When we take the Daled Minim and we shake it, we're saying that we're offering every part of our body. Every different one of our taivas, we're offering it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's Pshat in the Pasuk. Ulakaktim lachem, we take all of every part of our body and all of our taivas and all of our things and we offer it HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it's perfect. The Pasuk says at the end, if you do that, Usmachtem lifnei Hashem Elokeichem, then you're going to be happy. And by Nisach HaMayim also represented that we're giving all our Ava. When we pour water, Midas Ahava, we're giving all our Ava to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that's why you're able to get on such a high madrega by Nisach HaMayim. That's why they're able to get to Ruach HaKodesh with such a high level of simcha, because we're giving all of our Ahava and we're channeling it in the right direction toward HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zakta Nesiv Shalom, a beautiful pshat in this memra by Simchas Beis She'eva. It says, Kol mi shleira Simchas Beis She'eva. Anyone who did not see Simchas Beis She'eva, which really none of us has seen, right? But anybody who did not see Simchas Beis She'eva, leira Simcha me'adam. He never saw Simcha. Now we can understand pshat on that. Because someone who didn't see Simchas Beis She'eva, someone who didn't see what it means to give over all of the Ava, to give over all of your taivas and take it, and give it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then he never really saw what a Simcha is. And Dafka, by this kind of Simcha, they were able to reach the level of Ruach HaKodesh. So now, it comes to Succos. What's on our mind when it comes to Succos? What do we have on our mind? What are we going to do? It's going to come tomorrow night, or when, maybe by the time you watch this, it's going to be already tonight. Tonight is Succos. What are we going to do? We have a chance, an unbelievable chance brought down in many, many Sfarim, to really connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a big way. Succos is a time, and if you really focus, when you go into the sukkah, a person sits in the sukkah, if you really focus, and a person who's in tune, and his neshama is a bit in tune with what's going on around him and what's going on in the yontiv of Succos, you can mamish feel that connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we have that opportunity on Succos. So what are we going to be thinking about on Succos? Are we going to think about how expensive the trip is that we're going to take on Chol Hamoed? Are we thinking about how many thousands of dollars we spent on decorating things in the sukkah? Or are we going to think about the opportunities that we have to become close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with the sukkah, with the Dal Minim, with the Inyan of Simchas Beis She'eva, although we do not have the Beis HaMikdash, but to at least be mispointed in what the Inyan of Simchas Beis She'eva is. But all this can only come about, like we said, if it comes to Succos, I'm trying to think, you should be on Succos, you should try to be a little selfish. Be a little selfish. Today it's very in vogue today, in the 21st century, it's very in vogue. People want to be happy, make themselves happy. And like we just said, there are artificial ways to make a person happy, or you could be happy the way our Chachamim, our Tzadikim tell us how you be happy. And the way to be happy is the more and more you separate yourself from your taivas and olam hazeh, which will never actually bring you to happiness. The more you separate, the more you're going to realize, and the more happy you're going to be as a human being. And that's this yontif. That's Zaman Simchasenu, where we take our taivas of olam hazeh, and we take our wants, and we take our always running after shtus, and we take it, and we put it aside, and we say, no, we're not going to do that this yontif. Zaman Simchasenu, Shitaka all be zoiche, to be really happy, and happy in a ruchnius and a gashmiistic way. We should be zoiche, to be makabel. Hopefully this sukkah is Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu from here v'yameinu. Amen.